Hello, this video is for English Conversation 3. We're using the textbook Breakthrough Plus 3 second edition. This video will cover Unit 4. Unit 4 is called Problems. Notice top right corner. The focus in this unit is talking about problems. The grammar we will look at is using the expressions too much, too many, and not enough. Let's listen to the first listening. The first conversation is between David and Lily. In this conversation, you will notice these three expressions. She's working too many hours. I don't have enough energy. It doesn't take up too much time. So we see too many. We see too much. So we want to understand when we use the word many, when we use the word much, and enough. I don't have enough. I have enough. Okay, let's listen first.
Unit 4, page 24, Conversation. You look really tired, Lily.
I am. I don't have enough energy to study today.
Is it because of your part-time job?
Yeah. I didn't get enough sleep again last night. It was almost 2 o'clock before I left work.
That's terrible. You know, you're working too many hours.
Yeah, and it's not fair anyway. I work harder than everyone else, and I don't get paid as much.
Well, maybe you should quit and find something better. Something that doesn't take up too much time.
Good idea. But what?
Okay, so Lily has a problem. David notices that Lily looks really tired. And Lily says she is. Then she says, I don't have enough energy to study today. Not enough energy. And then David asks, is it because of your part-time job? So Lily studies and she has a part-time job. Lily replies, yeah, I didn't get enough sleep again last night. So it's not the first night. Not enough sleep. She didn't sleep as long as she needed. It was almost 2 o'clock before I left work. So she worked until 2 a.m. And David says, that's terrible. You know, you're working too many hours. Too many. More than she should. And then Lily says, yeah, and it's not fair anyway. I work harder than everyone else, and I don't get paid as much. So her pay is less than other people, but she thinks she works harder than the other people. So David suggests, well, maybe you should quit and find something better. You should quit. That's a suggestion. Something that doesn't take up too much time. In other words, something that takes less time. And Lily says, good idea, but what? Okay, before we go any further, we're going to have a quick look at the grammar page. Grammar page is on 105. Okay, so the grammar reference, we have too much, too many, and not enough. So when do we use each one? Okay, we use too much and too many, and too plus an adjective when something is more than we want or more than we need. We use too much plus an uncountable noun. We all know what an uncountable noun is. It's something that we can't really count. So our example here, there's too much noise. Noise is not countable. So we can't say there's too many noise or there's too many noises. There's too much noise. We use too many with a countable noun. There are too many people. People is countable. One person, two people, three people, four people. We also use too plus an adjective. An adjective, a word that describes something. So in this example, hot is the adjective. It's too hot in this room. In other words, there is more heat than we want in this room. We use not enough when something is less than we want. So the structure, not plus adjective plus enough. This house is not big. Big is the adjective, enough. Not big enough. For a negative statement, not plus verb plus enough plus a noun. I don't, so I do not have is a verb, enough time. I don't have enough time to finish all my work. We use fewer and more with countable nouns. There are fewer students this semester. Students, countable. 1 student, 2 students, 3 students. There are fewer students this semester. There are more men than women in the top jobs. Men, women, countable. We use less and more with uncountable nouns. Okay, so now you see we use more with countable nouns. We use more with uncountable nouns. But when we're talking about less than we want or less than we need, for countable nouns, we use fewer. For uncountable nouns, we use less. 2 examples. There's less traffic in the city on Sundays. Traffic, uncountable. So not much traffic on Sundays. There's less traffic in the city on Sundays. That means there's more traffic on other days. There's more crime these days. Crime, uncountable. More crime than we want, or more crime than we like, or more crime than we need. Okay, if we look at some of the examples on the right side, it asks you to complete the sentences using the words in parentheses. In parentheses, this is parentheses. Some people call it in brackets. Okay, so the word in parentheses in the example is food. The person says, I'm full. Biblio. I've eaten too much food today. I've eaten too much food today. Okay, number 1. I didn't have money, the word in parentheses, to buy the computer I wanted. So, less money. I didn't have enough money. I'm going to open up the worksheet so we can see the answers in place. And I'll just fill in all the answers. I didn't have enough money to buy the computer I wanted. Money is not countable. So, not enough. This coat is not. Warm, adjective. This coat is not warm enough. In other words, when I wear this coat, I'm still cold. Number 3, there are too many cars in the city. Car is the word. Car is countable, and we see it has an S ending. There are too many cars in the city. So we wouldn't say too much cars, because car is countable. Time, number 4. I didn't have to finish breakfast this morning. So less time than I wanted. I didn't have enough time to finish breakfast this morning. Number 5, I'm very busy today. I have things. So busy, a lot of things. I have too many things to do. Not too much, because things countable. 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things. I'm afraid we don't have chairs for everyone. So maybe 20 people, but 15 chairs. So I'm afraid we don't have enough chairs. Chairs countable. Sue can't go out because she has work to do. So Sue can't go out. Why? Too much work. Because she has too much work to do. Okay, and we'll stop there. You should do all the other examples also. Page is too slow closing. Okay. Back to Unit 4. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some vocabulary. Okay, what we see here is considerate, and in the blank, they've entered the word selfish. What we're doing is we're looking at the opposites of these adjectives. Now, why do we need to know the opposite? Another word for opposite is antonym. In other words, selfish is the antonym for considerate. Okay, I'll explain how we use or why we would use the antonym in a moment. So you have to find the opposites. Introverted. What's the opposite of introverted? What's the opposite of neat? What's the opposite of spacious? What's the opposite of old-fashioned? If we look at the article, I live in a student house downtown. I like it because it's modern. Modern, new style. So it's the opposite of old-fashioned. So the opposite of old-fashioned is modern. But the problem is I share it with 6 other students and there isn't enough space. There isn't enough space. It's really cramped. Spacious. Lots of space. Not enough space. Not enough space means it's cramped. So the opposite of spacious is cramped. And there's too much noise all the time. Too much noise. More noise than the student wants. Also, my roommates are very outgoing. My roommates are very outgoing. Outgoing, they like meeting people. Outgoing is the opposite of introvert. So my roommates are very introverted, means they're not outgoing. There's actually another word. The opposite of introverted is extroverted. So the prefix in, we change it to ex, and that gives us the opposite meaning. Okay, so the opposite of introverted here is outgoing. So also my roommates are very outgoing, but they're selfish too. This TOO is also. Selfish. They only care about themselves. And we see up here, that's the opposite of considerate. Considerate means you think of other people. I mean, they're really messy and they never ever clean up. Messy. Neat. Messy is the opposite of neat. I'd rather live on my own. Okay, number 3, we see a few more adjectives. Boring, convenient, easygoing, expensive, irritable, lively, moody, polluted, safe, sensitive. We should know the meanings of these words. In number 4, it asks you to write positive or negative next to each adjective in this list. Boring. Is that a positive or a negative adjective? Well, nobody likes to be bored, so it must be negative. convenient. Convenient is a positive adjective. I live next door to a Jim Doc restaurant. That's very convenient. I don't have to get in my car. I don't have to go far. Easygoing. Somebody who's easygoing is not easily stressed. Expensive, the opposite of expensive. Cheap. Expensive. Too much money. It costs too much money. Okay, so just a few examples. In number 2, it asks to make 3 lists headed places, people, and places or people. So the adjectives from number 1 can either describe places, people, or sometimes the adjective can describe people or places. So, for example, considerate, that would be describing a person. Introverted would be describing a person. Neat could describe a person or it could describe a place. Spacious would describe a place. A person cannot be spacious. Old-fashioned could be a person or a place. And ask you to complete this conversation with too much, too many, or enough. Hey Jude, hey Judy, what's wrong? You look upset. I am. I don't have, we can guess, to go on vacation this spring break. I don't have enough money. Well, maybe you should stay here and find a job. There are always people on the beach anyway. Maybe too many? Yeah, and I have work to do. Too much or too many? Work is not countable. So, too much work to do. Let's listen.
Unit 4, page 25, Real Life Exchange.
Hey, Judy. What's wrong? You look upset.
I am. I don't have enough money to go on vacation this spring break.
Well, maybe you should stay here and find a job. There are always too many people on the beach anyway.
Yeah, and I have too much work to do. How about you? Are you going away?
No, I have too many things to do here.
Let's hang out together then. Staying on campus might be fun.
So I have too much work. Too much because work is not countable. A says, no, I have things countable. So too many things to do here. I'm going to skip by this section. We can't really do any discussion or group work. Okay, we're going to listen to Ethan. He's from London, which is in the UK. He's going to talk about some problems he's facing right now. It asks you to check the topics he mentions. So if he mentions money, check it. If he mentions job, check it. If he mentions family, check it. If he mentions clothes, check it, and so on. Then it asks you to listen again and complete the sentence. Ethan says he go out very often. So either he goes out very often or he doesn't go out very often. There are lectures at college. Okay, so you have to fill in the spaces. Let's look at number 1. Okay, let's listen.
How is life in the UK, Ethan? London is a great city, don't you think?
I suppose so, if you have the money.
Yes, it is expensive, isn't it?
Very. I don't have enough money to go out very often.
You're a student, aren't you?
Yes, at Westminster College. It's great, but there are too many lectures.
Do you live near the college?
No, that's a big problem. It takes too much time to get here. Over an hour.
I see. So you live with your family?
Yes, that's right. It's convenient in many ways, but not for travel.
Some people don't like living with their families, do they? How do you like it?
Oh, it's okay. My dad is very easygoing, but my mum is a problem. She complains all the time because I'm pretty messy.
Aw, that's too bad.
My 2 sisters still live at home, and so it's a bit cramped. It's not big enough for us all, now that we're grown up.
I see. Well, maybe you should move out.
I'd love to, but it's too expensive.
Okay, so which things does he mention? Now, remember here, it's not the problems. Ethan is talking about some problems he's facing right now. Here it asks, select the topics he mentions. So even if the topic is not a problem, we should still select it. He mentions money, he mentions family, he's living with his family, he's living at home, and he mentions study. He didn't mention anything about free time, friends, he didn't mention a job, clothes, health, or his girlfriend. I won't bother to play it again. You had to fill in the spaces. Ethan says he doesn't have enough money to go out very often. He says there are too many lectures at college. It takes too much time to get to college. His house is quite far from the college. His dad is very easygoing, relaxed, doesn't get upset easily. And number 5, the house isn't big enough for his family because they're all grown, his brothers or sisters, so they don't have enough space. Okay, this time we're going to listen to 3 people talk about their hometowns, and it asks you to complete the chart. So we have 3 people. What are the good points about their hometowns, and what are the bad points?
Junichi.
I live in Kyoto. I love it. It's really lively and I love all the old-fashioned buildings. In the summer, there are too many tourists though. That's the only problem.
Ling Feng.
I live in a small village near the sea. I love it because there's no pollution at all here. The people are really easygoing. The only problem is there aren't enough jobs. so many people decide to leave and go to the city for work.
Melissa,
I'm from Texas. It's a big state, so you don't feel cramped here, which is great. I live in Houston, which is a city with a lot of modern buildings, and I like that. Everyone has a car, though, so there's too much traffic. But apart from that, I love living here.
Okay, again, we won't listen again. If we were in a class, we would listen to it a couple of times. Junichi, the good points. The city is really lively. He likes all the old-fashioned buildings. But the bad point, too many tourists. Lin Feng, there's no pollution in her hometown. So that's a good point. And the people are really easygoing. But the bad point, there aren't enough jobs in her hometown. And Melissa, the good point about her hometown is she doesn't feel cramped. And it has a lot of modern buildings. But there's too much traffic. Okay, we're going to stop there. And before I leave, I'm going to look at the homework quickly. Okay, this homework, there are 2 pages. It looks like a lot. At the top of the first sheet, there's a reminder. It says, remember 2 plus adjective, too much plus uncountable nouns, and too many plus countable nouns. This is for excess, more than we want or more than we need. Less than we want or less than we need, insufficiency. We use enough plus a noun or not enough plus a noun, not plus an adjective plus enough. Okay, so example number 1. How many cars are in the city? In this city? It is easy to say that there are but there are not parking places. So you have to fill in too enough or not enough. It's easy to say that there are too many cars, but there are not enough parking places. Okay, so you fill in the rest. In number 3, sorry about that. I made a little mistake. Number 3, I'm going to delete from your homework. Just filling in the spaces here is enough, and it'll take a lot of time. So when you see your homework, I will have this deleted. Actually, I'll delete it right now. Oh, I can't cut it. Well, I will. I'll do it after. I'll do it later. Okay. In number 4, I mentioned before about knowing the antonym, the opposite. And in this section, you have to use antonyms. Okay, it asks you to use the antonym of the underlined words to rephrase the following sentences. So you have an example. This car is too expensive for me. Anytime we use an expression with too plus an adjective, we can use the opposite adjective, and then the sentence becomes, this car is not cheap enough for me.